Right now over reports that President Obama sent a secret letter to Iran's supreme leader last month. Apparently, the letter was meant to open communication with what many consider that rogue regime about the war against ISIS. Lawmakers on Capitol Hill are slamming the move as outrageous and potentially dangerous. All of this comes amid more reports of yet another setback regarding Iran's nuclear program. Let's talk about it with Gillian Turner, a former White House National Security Council staff member under President George W. Bush and President Obama. Potentially dangerous, outrageous, that is the feeling from some on Capitol Hill. You see it a little differently.
I do. Before we pass judgment on the president's choice here, we need to really consider why he made this decision and why now. I would offer that this moment presents a unique set of challenges and opportunities in terms of managing the U.S.-Iranian bilateral relationship. And also, penning a letter to a foreign head of state is well within the bounds of presidential prerogative. It's also fairly, common practice. It's a standard tool that's available to the president in his foreign policy toolbox.
Well, there is a reason that we have, one president and one person making the foreign policy decisions. So if he wants to write a secret letter, that in and of itself is certainly within his prerogative. The question is, what is he saying? What is he offering?
Well, look, I want to point out that the dynamic with Iran has really changed over the last year or so, in a limited sense. But here's what's happened. Three things. Number one, we inked an interim deal with the Iranians. Number two, the Ahmadinejad regime was replaced by President Rouhani, who was elected in part on the basis of being more moderate, maybe even being willing to resolve the nuclear issue with the West. And number three, ISIS has emerged as a common enemy. So there's really a new geostrategic reality on the ground that the administration is trying to grapple with.
And yet, the UN Nuclear Watchdog Agency is just out today with a report that suggests that Iran is still not answering questions about how it tried to build, or it may have tried to build, a nuclear weapon. They are 2 months behind in reporting all of this, and the agreement that is supposed to wrap this up is supposed to be happening within the next month or so.
Yep, towards the end of this month, and regardless of the ISIS threat, which is, as we know, considerable both to national security here at home and to Middle East regional stability, preventing a nuclear Iran remains this government's probably foremost strategic priority, and has been for many years now. So, you're right to say that the president definitely needs to be mindful of the legislative branch here and needs to not anger them at a time when he wants to bring them in and kind of harness support for these nuclear negotiations. But at the same time, the president's really in a unique position in terms of balancing these two issues against one another and making sure that the correct amount of emphasis is given to each issue as we're dealing with it.
But in a word, isn't a nuclear Iran far more dangerous than ISIS even?
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm just trying to make the point that at different, sort of particular moments, the administration is dealing with different issues and trying to not lump them together and try and deal with everything all at once.
Gillian Turner, a former member of the White House National Security Staff. Gillian, thank you for your expertise.
Thank you, John.
We know